You must hear it before it is too late. I write to awaken you, because what you do not know is being used against you. Because what you do not question is enslaving you. Because if you do not rise now, you may have no ground left to stand on tomorrow. Africa, to you speaking the rehearsed language of polished politics. I come to you as a soldier of my people, as a guardian of a wounded land, as a son of a continent that has carried the cross of the world, yet has never worn its crown. Africa is not Tobago. Africa is not a battlefield. Africa is not your experiment, your puppet.
Power to Africa. Long live Africa! Long live Africa! Power to Africa! And to the imperialists and the West, finally, we appreciate America so much. We appreciate Donald Trump for so much, for telling us the truth, that indeed we are worthless, that indeed we can't do it, that indeed, I quote him, and respectfully apologize to Africans that really understand who they are, for me quoting this statement made by the delusional president of America, Donald Trump, that we are shitholes. Indeed, we want to clear our shithole. You know what? Back off. Let us clean our mess. Maybe it is somebody who did the mess, but we are ready to clear the mess. Allow us to clear the mess. Stay out. But we are telling them, today, they should go read the history. I know it is really ringing in their minds. There are a lot of videos saying it, that Africans are where we are now because they are not ready to allow us get to where we need to get to. And they use the army. And I say, the greatest weapon of the West today is not the missiles and the bombs and the other things they use. The greatest weapon is misinformation. African youth, wise up. Let them know that eyes are watching, ears are listening, brains are processing, and we are beginning to see who we are, and we will get there. And when the time comes, the color will speak for itself. For the army of America, we will see what it will be left with when the black Africans in there, the black Americans that call themselves, will start getting out of the army and start fighting for their skin, and start fighting for their last generation. The torture they went through, sailing through this Mediterranean Sea, they will remember that, hey, these people are not just the people we see them to be. These people were actually our backbone that we downplayed. And today, they have realized who they are, and they're going to rise up and fight. As for France, we are ready to take off the lights. And when the light goes off, you will see darkness. The darkness. Sorry?
New force of nature at hand, stirring all over the world. They are the young people whom, frankly, we have failed, who are angry, who are organized, who are capable of making a difference. They are a moral army. And the most important thing that we can do for them is to get the hell out of their way.
Honorable delegates, heads of state, leaders of nations, distinguished representatives of peoples great and small, I greet you not as a career diplomat, nor as a man bred for banquet halls and handshakes. I do not come to you speaking the rehearsed language of polished politics. I come to you as a soldier of my people, as a guardian of a wounded land, as a son of a continent that has carried the cross of the world, yet has never worn its crown. My name is Captain Ibrahim Traore, President of Burkina Faso, and today I speak not only for the 22 million souls in my nation, but for a continent whose stories have been twisted, whose pain has been ignored, and whose dignity has been repeatedly auctioned off at the altar of foreign interests. Africa is not Tobago. Africa is not a battlefield. Africa is not your experiment, your puppet, your warehouse of raw materials. Africa is rising not to kneel, but to stand. And today I say before this great assembly of nations, Africa will not kneel, one on the false generosity of global politics. For decades you've sent us aid with one hand while extracting our lifeblood with the other. You build wells in our villages while your corporations drain our rivers. You donate vaccines yet patent the cures. You speak of climate action yet continue to fund the very forces that burn our forests and dry our lakes. What kind of generosity is this? The kind that feeds the mouth but silences the voice. The kind that keeps a man alive just enough to keep him dependent. We are not blind to this hypocrisy. Let me be clear, we are not ungrateful for sincere humanitarian assistance. but we reject a global order that disguises exploitation as partnership. We reject financial institutions that lend with one hand and steal sovereignty with the other. Africa no longer wants charity. We want justice. We want control over our own destinies. Too on the chains of colonialism and its modern descendants. Our wounds did not begin with us. They were inherited legacies of an empire-building madness that saw us not as humans, but cheap as cargo labor tools. My ancestors were not consulted when maps were drawn with rulers and compasses in Berlin. The borders of Burkina Faso, like those of many African nations, were not carved by our ancestors, but by men who had never stepped foot on our soil, who knew nothing about languages, our tribes, or our spirits. Today, colonialism has a new face. It wears suits, it hosts forums, it signs contracts in Geneva and Paris and Washington. But it still takes without consent, it still dictates instead of dialogues, it still silences instead of listening. If you want to talk about peace, then let's begin by unlearning the arrogance that peace is something only you can teach us. 3. On resource exploitation and the myth of development. They call us developing as if the theft of centuries did not set us back, as if the gold from our lands, the diamonds from our rivers, the oil beneath our feet did not build the very skyscrapers in which this assembly sits. Let us speak plainly. Burkina Faso is rich, Africa is rich in minerals and culture and wisdom and youth, but you have taught us to measure richness in GDP and export value. You call it development when a foreign company owns 90% of a gold mine on our land. You call it progress when your security forces guard cobalt mines but not our children's schools. That is not progress, that is piracy with legal documents. From now on, we will define development on our own terms. Development that puts children in classrooms, not minerals on cargo ships. Development that respects the land, the people, and the soul of a nation. 4. On sovereignty and interference. Why is it that when an African nation makes independent choices, we are called unstable? Why is it that when we seek military cooperation outside the colonial sphere, we are labeled a threat? Burkina Faso has chosen to walk a path of sovereignty that is not a threat to peace. It is a declaration of adulthood. We are no longer under your guardianship. We are no longer your junior partners in diplomacy. We are a free people. If a nation chooses partners that respect it rather than exploit it, that is not rebellion. That is wisdom. Let it be known, no foreign power will dictate the alliances of Burkina Faso. We will build relations based on mutual respect, not historical guilt or present-day intimidation.
He has to sit back and allow Western media to intimidate them, to wrongfully, let them understand what we've been missing for too long. Because now, all these gadgets we are seeing here is actually sending the message. And you need nobody to tell you the truth. You just have to log it in and go and see for yourself. Read for yourself and you see the truth. If you can't even read, nothing. Just log in Ibrahim Traore. In the last 2 years, and you see the reason why Africa is where it is and why the West is coming back. We'll continue to rise and resist this. And I made this quote and I say this, that it's either they accept. It is either they accept the realities of the revolution now, of this generation, or else they wait for the consequence of this revolution. No retrieve, no surrender.
If you had a black man, take his resources. If you had a...
This letter is not official. It is not stamped with the mark of the state. It is written in urgency, in truth, and in love. It is secret not because it must be hidden, but because too few are ready to hear it. But you must hear it before it is too late. I write to awaken you because what you do not know is being used against you. Because what you do not question is enslaving you. Because if you do not rise now, you may have no ground left to stand on tomorrow. Africa is not poor. Africa is not weak. Africa is not broken. It is being broken deliberately, methodically, and with our own hands. Yes, I said it with our own hands. We have let ourselves be sedated by imported dreams. We have mistaken convenience for freedom. We have confused foreign applause with success. And now the very soul of our continent is being auctioned to the youth of Africa. Those in Lagos traffic in the Nairobi slums, in the fields of Bamako, in the universities of Accra, in the nightclubs of Joburg, in the refugee camps of Tripoli, in the mining pits of Katanga, in the cafes of Kigali, and under the neon lights of Paris and Rome. I say this WAKU pit, or be erased. Number one, the theft of your future. My brothers and sisters all, my sons and daughters in the spirit of Africa, let us begin with a truth that should pierce the conscience of every young African who still dares to dream. Your future is being stolen piece by piece, deal by deal, lie by lie. Not by chance, not by accident, not by natural disaster, but by men in suits and uniforms, by policies dressed as progress, by deals signed in silence, by the kind of leadership that confuses servitude for strategy, and yes, by your own silence and surrender. You were told that independence was given to your fathers, but I ask you, if we are free, then why do our currencies still bow before the euro? Why do our resources feed foreign stock markets while our people feed on hope and prayer? Why do the brightest minds in Accra and Addis Ababa build roads in Dubai, launch tech startups in Berlin, and create art for galleries in New York, while back home the lights flicker, the taps run dry, and the schools are crumbling? You were promised opportunity, but what you got was illusion. You were promised democracy, but you inherited democracies that protect the rich, prosecute the truth tellers, and sell elections like merchandise. You were promised globalization, but it came wrapped in poverty, dependency, and cultural erasure. You were told you would be the leaders of tomorrow, but that tomorrow never came. It is always tomorrow, and they are hoping you will grow too tired to keep asking when. My dear African youth, I must speak to you plainly. You are being groomed for obedience, not leadership. You are being shaped to serve, not to shape. You are being distracted by the noise of social media, while your destiny is being sold in silence. The oil beneath your soil has paid for the comfort of men who will never know your name. The lithium under your hills has powered smartphones in Tokyo and Teslas in California. But your schools still teach under trees and your hospitals still run without electricity. How long will we call this misfortune instead of what it truly is, a system? A system designed to keep you focused on football matches and fashion trends while your economy is auctioned off to foreign powers. A system that makes you chase visas and celebrity lifestyles while your ancestral lands are bought by billionaires. A system that whispers Africa will rise but never tells you who is lifting it and for whose benefit. Let me ask you something uncomfortable. When a 25-year-old African man sells his vote for a bag of